Photography is a powerful tool that has the ability to capture moments in time and preserve them forever. From the earliest days of the medium to the current era of digital photography, the art form has undergone significant changes and advancements. In this video, we'll take a journey through the history of photography, exploring everything from the earliest photographic processes to the latest technologies and techniques that photographers use today. Nicéphore Niepce was a French inventor and photographer who lived in the late 18th and early 19th centuries. He was born in 1765 in the Burgundy region of France into a wealthy family. Niepce was interested in science and engineering from a young age and experimented with various inventions, including a pyrometer to measure high temperatures. Niepce began experimenting with photography in the early 19th century. He had heard about experiments others were doing in Britain and decided to try his hand at it himself. His early experiments involved coating pieces of paper with silver chloride and exposing them to sunlight, but the images were of poor quality and did not last. Niepce's breakthrough came in 1826 when he took the world's first surviving photograph. The image was a view of the horizon from the window of his workroom at his family's estate. He used a camera obscura and coated a pewter plate with bitumen, a substance which hardens when exposed to light. He then exposed the plate to sunlight for several hours, allowing the bitumen to harden in the areas that were exposed. The plate was then washed with a solvent, leaving a permanent image on the plate. Niepce continued to work on photography and collaborated with Louis Daguerre, who later invented the daguerreotype, an early type of photograph. Niepce died in 1833, but his contributions to early photography cannot be overstated. He paved the way for the invention of modern photography, and his first surviving photograph is a testament to his ingenuity and perseverance. The invention of photography is a complex and multifaceted story that involves a number of inventors and discoveries. The early experiments with photography in the late 18th and early 19th centuries involved exposing light-sensitive materials, such as paper or metal plates, to light in order to create an image. However, the images produced were often poor quality and did not last. Nicéphore Niepce was one of the early pioneers in the field, experimenting with photography in the early 19th century. He invented the heliograph, a technique for producing engravings by photographic means, in 1822. He also experimented with various light-sensitive materials, including bitumen, which he used in his first surviving photograph in 1826. Niepce's experiments were continued and expanded upon by other inventors, including Louis Daguerre and William Henry Fox Talbot. In 1839, Daguerre announced the invention of the daguerreotype, an early type of photograph that became wildly popular. Talbot announced a similar process, the calotype, around the same time. Niepce's contributions to the invention of photography cannot be overstated. His early experiments paved the way for future inventors to refine and perfect the process, and his first surviving photograph remains a testament to his ingenuity and perseverance. Niepce's first surviving photograph is a view of the horizon from the window of his workroom at his family's estate. The photograph was taken in 1826 using a camera obscura and a pewter plate coated with bitumen. The plate was exposed to sunlight for several hours, allowing the bitumen to harden in the areas that were exposed, leaving a permanent image on the plate. The image is a bit blurry and lacks sharpness, but it is an incredible achievement considering the limitations of the technology at the time. This photograph was a groundbreaking achievement in the field of photography. It was the first time that anyone had managed to produce a permanent recorded image of the world that surrounded them. It was a remarkable moment in the history of human culture that captured the imagination of many and heralded the beginning of a new era of image-making technology. Niepce's photograph was a starting point for the continued development of photographic technology. Over the next few decades, other inventors refined Niepce's techniques and improved on his methods to produce sharper, more high-quality images that would ultimately change the way we perceive and capture the world around us. Today, we take photography for granted, but we owe a great debt to Niepce and his pioneering efforts that led to the development of this revolutionary technology. His first surviving photograph remains a testament to the ingenuity and perseverance of early photographic pioneers and continues to inspire new generations of photographers today. The history of photography begins with a number of technological precursors that allowed for the formation of an image using light-sensitive materials. One of the earliest of these was the camera obscura, a device used by artists and scientists for hundreds of years to project an image onto a surface for tracing or viewing. The earliest known mention of a camera obscura dates back to the 5th century BCE in China, where an optical device called a pinhole camera was used to view eclipses of the sun. In the 18th century, various scientists and experimenters began to work with the chemical properties of silver nitrate, a substance that darkens when exposed to light. This led to the discovery of the photogenic drawing in 1802 by Thomas Wedgwood and Humphrey Davy, a technique for producing a negative image on paper coated with silver nitrate. Later in the 1820s, Joseph Nicephore Niepce experimented with heliography, a process that used bitumen-coated plates to create an image through exposure to light. Niepce's partnership with Louis Daguerre would prove to be a crucial part of the history of photography, leading to the invention of the daguerreotype in 1837. This early photographic process used a highly polished silver copper plate that was exposed to light, causing a mirror-like image to appear on the surface. The daguerreotype was highly detailed and could produce a single image only, but it represented a significant breakthrough in the technology of photography. Louis Daguerre, a theatrical painter and inventor, was introduced to Niepce's heliography by a mutual friend, and the two began to work together on improving the technique. After Niepce's death, Daguerre continued experimenting with the process, eventually developing the daguerreotype, which was announced to the French Academy of Sciences in January 1839. The process involved placing a highly polished silvered copper plate over iodine to make it light-sensitive, exposing the plate to an image and developing it using a combination of mercury vapor and hot salt water. The result was a unique, detailed image fixed onto the plate's surface that could be viewed in a good light, but not reproduced. Due to the expense and fragility of the process, early daguerreotypes were largely the province of wealthy amateurs and studio photographers. However, it was quickly recognized as a significant breakthrough in the history of photography due to its unprecedented clarity and detail, and it paved the way for further experiments with photographic processes. The daguerreotype had a profound impact on photography and visual culture, marking a turning point in the democratization of portraiture and the documentation of history. The detailed and realistic images produced by the daguerreotype captured a slice of life unlike anything before, and quickly became a popular form of memento mori, photographic keepsakes of deceased loved ones, as well as a popular way of recording important public figures of the time. The American presidency of Abraham Lincoln, for example, was broadly recorded using the daguerreotype. The daguerreotype also impacted other visual arts, inspiring painters to be more accurate and detailed, while also serving as a reference tool for them. It also influenced the development of other photographic processes, including the wet plate collodion process that followed it. However, while the daguerreotype had a major impact on the history of photography, its popularity soon waned due to the advent of cheaper, more versatile photographic processes. By the 1860s, the daguerreotype had all but disappeared from commercial use. Nonetheless, its legacy and influence are still felt today. In 1888, George Eastman developed a camera that revolutionized the art of photography. The Kodak camera, named after the sound the shutter made when a photo was taken, was one of the first cameras to be commercially produced. What made it special was its simplicity. It was a simple box camera that was easy to use even by beginners. Eastman was passionate about making photography more accessible to the general public, and the Kodak camera was the perfect tool to do so. Unlike other cameras at the time, the Kodak camera was portable and lightweight, with a sturdy build that could withstand travel and outdoor use. It used a preloaded film cartridge that could take 100 shots, making photography more affordable and less wasteful. Moreover, after a user had used up all the film, they could simply mail the entire camera back to Eastman's factory, where it would be refurbished and refilled with fresh film. The Kodak camera was an instant success, and photography became a popular hobby and profession. The invention of the Kodak camera marked the beginning of a new era in the history of photography, making it accessible to people of all walks of life. This revolution also inspired other camera manufacturers like Leica and Nikon to develop their own easy-to-use cameras that made photography accessible to everyone. Before the invention of the Kodak camera, photography was a complex and expensive process that was accessible only to professionals and the wealthy. The equipment was bulky and required a great deal of technical knowledge to operate. Developing prints was a time-consuming and costly process that required specialized equipment and chemicals. The Kodak camera changed all that. It was simple to use and affordable, and it eliminated many of the challenges that made photography difficult and costly. The preloaded film cartridge system made it easy for anyone to take multiple photos without the need for expensive equipment or training. The ability to mail the camera back for processing and refilling made professional-looking photographs accessible to everyone. Even people who couldn't afford a camera could rent a Kodak camera to capture memories in a way that was previously impossible. The Kodak camera made it possible for anyone to capture and preserve moments in time, which created a new kind of art and a new way of preserving history for future generations. The invention of the Kodak camera democratized photography, making it accessible to people of all walks of life, and it paved the way for the development of the camera and photographic technology that we use today. The Kodak camera, invented by George Eastman in 1888, was one of the first cameras to be mass-produced, which made it affordable for a large number of people. The company's advertising slogan was, "You press the button, we do the rest," which signified that anyone could take a photo with the camera, regardless of their knowledge of photography. Eastman recognized that the camera was more than a tool for professionals or the wealthy. He believed that photography was a way for people to capture memories and preserve history. He worked hard to design a camera that was not only affordable but also easy to use, which would enable the general public to capture and preserve their memories in a way that was previously impossible. Eastman's vision was successful, and the Kodak camera became one of the most popular cameras of its time. The company's marketing strategy, which emphasized the ease of use and affordability of the camera, helped to make photography accessible to everyone. By 1900, over 100,000 Kodak cameras had been sold worldwide. The success of the Kodak camera inspired other camera manufacturers to create easy-to-use cameras and to improve photographic technology, which has led to the development of the modern-day camera. In conclusion, Eastman's invention of the Kodak camera, one of the first mass-produced cameras, revolutionized the way people captured and preserved their memories. It made photography accessible to the general public, which was a significant achievement in the history of photography. The Lumière brothers, Auguste and Louis, were French inventors who are known for their contributions to the field of photography and motion pictures. They were born into a family that was already involved in photography, and they continued to experiment with cameras and photographic processes as they grew up. In 1895, they invented the cinematograph, which was a combination camera and projector that could capture and display moving images. The cinematograph played a crucial role in the development of the motion picture industry. The Lumière brothers were also involved in other fields of photography, including color photography. The introduction of autochrome in 1901 was a significant milestone, and it cemented their legacy in the world of photography. Autochrome was the first commercially available color photography process, and it was introduced by the Lumière brothers in 1901. Before the introduction of autochrome, color photography was a complex and time-consuming process that involved taking 3 separate photographs with different color filters and then combining them to create a color image. Autochrome simplified the process by using a single plate coated with a layer of microscopic potato starch grains, each of which was dyed one of 3 primary colors: red, blue, and green. When light passed through the grains and reached the sensitive emulsion layer of the plate, it created a color image. Autochrome became very popular among photographers and the general public, and it remained in use until the 1930s when alternative color processes were introduced. The Lumière brothers' invention of autochrome revolutionized color photography and set the groundwork for further advancements in color film and photography. Autochrome had a significant impact on the field of photography and continues to have a legacy even today. It paved the way for other color photography processes, including Kodachrome and Technicolor. Autochrome also helped to popularize color photography among the general public. Prior to the introduction of autochrome, most photographs were in black and white, and color photography was seen as a luxury. With the introduction of autochrome, color photography became more accessible and affordable, and it helped to democratize the art form. Autochrome plates were used to record many historic events, including World War I and the rise of fascism in Europe. The Lumiere brothers' contribution to photography extends beyond autochrome, but it was a significant milestone that had a lasting impact on the art and technology of photography. In 1936, German camera manufacturer Ihagee introduced the first practical single-lens reflex (SLR) camera, revolutionizing the world of photography. This camera design used a mirror and pentaprism to allow photographers to see exactly what the lens captured through the viewfinder, making it much easier to focus and compose their shots accurately. Prior to this invention, photographers had to compose their shots using a viewfinder that was separate from the camera's lens, which made it difficult to accurately predict the final image. Ihagee's camera also had a removable lens which allowed photographers to switch between different lenses, making it possible to capture a wider range of subjects. Moreover, this camera provided a depth of field preview feature which allowed photographers to visualize what their image would look like with specific settings of aperture, shutter speed, and film speed. This feature was particularly useful as it saved time and film. Ihagee's SLR camera was an instant success and laid the foundations for future technological advancements in photography. The SLR camera introduced by Ihagee in 1936 had several innovative key features that made it an essential tool for professional photographers. Firstly, the camera's single-lens reflex design enabled photographers to see exactly what the lens was capturing through the viewfinder, which made it much easier to focus and compose shots with accuracy. The camera incorporated a pentaprism that corrected the image orientation and ensured that the viewfinder showed an accurate depiction of the final image, right side up and unreversed. The pentaprism is a five-sided reflecting pyramid, which bends the light coming in, making it possible to see the image right side up without flipping, unlike a pentamirror or a waist-level viewfinder. Moreover, the camera had a removable lens that enabled photographers to select and adapt the lens according to the requirements of the shoot. They could choose lenses with different focal lengths or maximum apertures, or macro lenses to capture close-ups. Finally, the camera offered a depth of field preview feature, which allowed photographers to see in advance what their image would look like with specific settings of aperture, shutter speed, and film speed, without having to take test shots. By pressing a button, the internal mechanism of the camera closed the lens aperture to the chosen setting, allowing the photographer to see the depth of field, or how much of the image was in focus, in the viewfinder. This feature was particularly useful in portrait photography or situations where the photographer needed to keep only a certain area in focus while blurring the rest. The introduction of the SLR camera by Ihagee in 1936 had a significant impact on the field of photography. It revolutionized the way photographs were composed, focused, and captured, and quickly became a popular choice among professional photographers. The ability to see the exact image through the lens, prior to capturing it, allowed for better focus, composition, and framing of the shot, leading to a dramatic improvement in the quality of photographs. With the introduction of the SLR camera, photographers could now capture images with greater accuracy and precision, which led to a significant increase in the number of high-quality photographs taken by professionals. The SLR camera also paved the way for faster shutter speeds, enabling photographers to capture images that were previously impossible to photograph with older camera designs. Moreover, the SLR camera's popularity among photography professionals helped to establish the camera as the industry standard for many years to come. As technology continued to advance, the SLR camera was further improved upon, leading to the development of digital SLR cameras that are widely used today. As we've seen, the history of photography is rich and complex, with many innovations, breakthroughs, and artists contributing to its development over the centuries. From the earliest experiments with light-sensitive materials to the current era of digital manipulation and sharing, photography has played an essential role in documenting the world around us and shaping our collective memory. We hope this video has given you a glimpse into the fascinating world of photography and encouraged you to explore this art form further. Keep on capturing those magical moments.